Good afternoon from Muscat. Thank you all for logging in today for the second day of the first Economic Transformation and Sustainability International Conference. Yesterday, we had an amazing authors from the technical session, Sustainable Economic Development and Digital Transformation in Financial Services, presenting their research papers. They were very insightful and informative. My name is Ahmed Rajab, and I will be your Master of Ceremony for today's session. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the session chair, Dr. Ibrahim Al-Shamsi, who is an associate professor and dean in College of Business, University of Brahmi in the Sultanate of Oman. His areas of specialization include business, human resource management, and other management-related subjects. He obtained his master's in business administration from UK and PhD in business administration from Malaysia. He has been in academics since 2006 and is an active researcher as main author and co-author of many index journals. Thank you very much, Dr. Ibrahim, for being here. I would also like to introduce the co-session chair, Dr. Mohammed Ansari, who is an assistant professor in business and economics department. He has a doctorate in operational management from Aligarh Muslim University, Master of Engineering from University of Allahabad, and MBA. He is also a certified project management professional from Project Management Institute, Pennsylvania, in the United States of America. He has more than 10 years of teaching experience with premier universities in Oman and India, and 20 years of industrial experience. Now, I'd also like to introduce the keynote speaker, Dr. Asya Chaudhary, who's going to be giving a short keynote address on building sustainable entrepreneur mindset at micro and macro level. Now, Dr. Asya Chaudhary is a professor in commerce and teaches the subjects like direct taxation, business statistics, business and managerial economics, marketing, and behavioral economics in consumer behavior to the undergrad, postgraduate, and PhD students in the Department of Commerce in Aligarh University, Aligarh Muslim University. She has a standing of 19 years in teaching different courses. Dr. Asya, thank you very much for agreeing to be part of the conference. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Should I be starting now?
Yes, you can start.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for introducing me and your kind words for me. Thank you. So today I'm going to speak upon the sustainable entrepreneurship at different levels. And first, I congratulate the whole team for organizing such upcoming issues on the entrepreneurship and economy that is sustainable. These are the words which are very frequently not only used but adopted by most of the economies for a sustainable development and for eco-friendly environment, which has to be adopted. Otherwise, I think we cannot continue for very long. So I begin with the session as my keynote session. So I would first start with defining what a sustainable entrepreneurship means. Though it is formally defined by many people, many economists, I'll just quote one or two before you. That is as explained by Triodos and Virix. They say that the continuing commitment which is made by business in order to behave ethically and contribute to economic development while improving the quality of life of the workers, their families, local communities, the society, and the world at large, as well as of our future generations too. because I think that is the bigger concern these days, that how our future generations can be protected with a better environment, which should not be kept, we cannot continue losing on it. So sustainable entrepreneurs are for-profit entrepreneurs that commit business operations towards the objective goals of achieving the sustainability. Or maybe we can also say that it is, the main focus of sustainable entrepreneurship is on preservation of nature, life support, and community in pursuit of perceived opportunity to bring into existence the future products, processes, and services for gain. Where maybe gain can be defined as it is, can be, gain is broadly construed with to include economic and non-economic gains to individual, the economy, and the society at large. Because see, in economic gains, obviously all of us understand it is the financial gains, but non-economic gains here stand for a better environment, a green, setup, and low energy consumption and low pollution emission, etc., etc. So, we what we observed was that since 2003, I think since the beginning of this century, we started hearing more about sustainable environment, and a lot was talked about sustainable entrepreneurship in particular. Where various definitions have been worked out, researches have been conducted, but I think to conclude all, what we can understand is that sustainable entrepreneurship should be anything that is balancing the environment and social concern at the same time. Maybe there has to be an economic gains. Obviously, that cannot be ignored. We have to take care of, because of balance, because in move to balance the environment and social concern, there may be market failures, or maybe the disequilibrium sets in. But still, we have to work on it by transforming the sectors towards sustainability, because that has to be a byproduct of any entrepreneurship. That was the concern that has been recently talked upon very frequently. So, see, actually, what happens is that there is no business or venture that operates on a desert or an island. We are in a community, we are living with people, we are living in a society, and therefore it is embedded in an economic, social, cultural, and ecological environment. So, sustainable entrepreneurship, it attempts to find the right balance within these environments. That is, it tries to improve the quality of their processes while ensuring their environmental and social impact. And the social impact, and it has to be limited or minimized. Whatever environmental impact an industry is having in terms of maybe pollution or anything else, including so many factors under this emission of pollution. Pollution can be, it's a big a long list. So that is, that has to be limited or minimized. So no doubt, on one side we should be creating a profitable enterprises, but also on the other hand we have to achieve environmental and social objectives. So there has to be an equal or maybe balanced blending of three P's. Three P's, that is a blending of people, planet, and profit. A triple bottom line, if you remember. So it is a blend of people, planet, and profit, and excuse me. It is what has to be the component of containing the objective and goals of a sustainable entrepreneurship. So it has this transformation of an industry towards sustainability. It does take place, but it takes place into various stages. Let me just share with you the different stages that exist, how the transformation of an industry moves towards the sustainability. The first stage is a sustainable entrepreneur who is highly motivated idealist. Obviously, that has to be there. Nobody can be forced to be a sustainable environment entrepreneur. You have to be motivated from within, and if he or he starts with, because he's an ideally motivated and sustainable entrepreneur. So he launches a sustainability innovation and initiates the transformation of an industry towards sustainability. That is the first stage. That is when one person starts. The second stage is the sustainable entrepreneur grows their business and is followed by incumbents that catch up. See how once you set a role model, then there are others who are following you. So they catch up with the growing trend, and the transformation of an industry begins and moves further towards sustainability. So that means that at first stage there are leaders who come up. The second stage is there are their incumbents who just follow or try to catch up, and then they make a trend. The trend itself is set up. In the third stage, what happens? The business-minded, sustainable entrepreneurs, they emerge with startups backed by professional investors who understand their market niche well, and they are able to implement both product innovations as well as process innovations. These sustainable entrepreneurs, they achieve profitable process innovation. They try to achieve a profitable growth, and they will extend the market share also. Maybe mass market brand can see the growing here. Then the last stage comes in, that is which is also called the maturity stage. Here the mass market brands see the growing competitive threats from the sustainable entrepreneurship, and when this competition sets in, threats of the competition sets in, automatically they will try to gain the market share as well by becoming more competent, by working on more, or maybe creating edges over what is already existing to face the competition. They further carry on the sustainable transformation of the industry. So this is how we see that how from a single leader or few leaders who are motivated already, they started, they took the lead, and how the others follow them. So this is how we can say that the number of the sustainable entrepreneurs, they multiply gradually. So here, maybe I would like to discuss few case studies here, or maybe share some of my academic and research experiences with you in terms of sustainable entrepreneurship. Let us take an example of textile and fashion industry. Presently, I think the fashion industry, it can be valued at $1.3 trillion US dollars, and which is employing more than 300 million people globally. And myself from India, I can say that India, it is among the largest producer, second or third largest producers in the world. And here our market stands at $75 billion, and which is, estimated that maybe next 5-6 years we'll be standing at 190 billion US dollars. So here the fashion industries, but what are the other side of the fashion industry? Is that it is very diverse, it is very complex, resulting, it results in an explosion in consumption and increased, waste. Why increased waste? Because as we follow the fashion industry, we follow the fashion industry, the trend for clothing and apparel, they change, and we demand more and more and more, and it is a never-ending process. So it results into lots of heaps of waste, because the out of fashion means it is rejected from the wardrobe. So it is, it is a leading cause of environmental deterioration. We find that just after scanning few literatures, we find that the cotton production, it involves high usage of pesticides, creating environment pollution, and maybe unsafe chemicals, emitting solid waste as discarded apparel, and forming landfills. And these landfills stay as long as maybe for 100 of years maybe. They do not deplete. They are not depleting. So see how the more we produce, the more we just damage the environment some way or somewhere, somehow or the other. So it leads to harmful environmental issues. The results or consequences, they carry on for a number of years. So here, I think when the concerns such as depleting natural resources, pesticide usage, maybe waste management, and ecological degradation are, they are gaining momentum among the researchers and academicians also. So, what is the solution to this? What is the solution? We cannot say that the fashion industry should go and shut down. We cannot say that people stop consuming so much of clothing, but other solutions have to be brought up. So one of the very scientific solution is the circular economy, or rather here to put at means add to the textile industry. We can call it a circular textile economy, which is, it is a solution to all current concerns, because it is an economy that is restorative. Circular economy, it is restorative and it is regenerative by design. That is, see, how it works is that the discarded textiles, which is thrown away from our wardrobes, or maybe which is out of use, dumped for landfills, what they do, they just use those textile. Those textiles are dismantled first, then the parts and their dismantled part are properly cleaned. They are sorted out. They are refurbished, and some new parts may be procured. And then they are reassembled and they are tested for quality, and then produced into some new fresh product, textile product, and sold into the market. So see how this is forming the complete loop. This is forming a complete loop, because here it is doing away with the linear economy model, where you produce the cotton, you utilize so much of natural resources, you use lots of fertilizers, lots of pesticides, and then you produce cotton. From cotton, we convert it into clothing, apparel, etc., etc., and finally it is used, and after consumption, it is thrown away. Now, where a circular economy, what it does, it does not produce the new or fresh components, that is cotton or raw material. Instead of that, they make the raw material from the dumped waste of textile, and then they reproduce that. So it does away with the linear model, and it helps in the sustainable environment also. Because some of the researchers also, they summarize that maybe it leads to 80% less emission in the environment. So that means it is protecting the environment to a certain extent by reducing the energy, maybe up to 60% less, and raw material consumption is also reduced down by 70%, because we don't need to produce all together fresh raw material for producing next levels of textiles. So see how this circular textile is helping, So now here, this circular economy has been, and it is not only in textile, it can be adopted in plastic, it can be adopted in so many products. Instead of linear production, the waste of any product can be researched and worked out how can it be reconverted into raw material, fresh raw material, and reused. And therefore, and it's not very, it's quite popular around the world, especially in developed nations. So it has been, quite a lot, heavily it has been tendered and endorsed by the organizations and business around the world, especially in European Union and China also. We find many industries who are following the circular, and those producers who are more environment conscious. So those entrepreneurs, so the USA, UK, Germany, they are leading global manufacturers in terms of circular economy. And companies and brands, they recognize the need. They realize that yes, the wastage has to be reduced. They have to be, minimized, and they must be reintroduced into recycling the scraps into circular economy. But I find from the researchers, previous researchers itself, that Developing nations like India, Brazil, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, etc., we are still in a struggling phase, to execute this circular economy successfully. Because I think maybe it is lack of awareness or lack of knowledge. They are quite a strong. I think poor adoption maybe is because of these strong reasons. Because in these countries, people are least aware about these things. They don't have knowledge. Another thing is they also lack technology. Also, developed nations, they have been working upon, and there are so many companies who are working on this, and they have already adopted. I'll give you some more case studies also, that how the companies are following this. Some companies like Caterpillar, Volvo, General Electric, Hewlett Packard, Larsen and Tubro, these all companies are following the circular economy to large extent. But still, we are far behind. We are far behind in this. And it's not only the awareness and knowledge, but it is also the consumers. Are they aware of, and will they adopt such kind of products? Because we have to also understand on the other side the human psychology. That is what the consumers think of this product, what is produced, out of after being recycled. So here they are important force in deciding, the adoption of circular products. So first they have to be made aware of. They have to be, convinced that yes, they because consumers play a very vital role in driving, sustainability and promoting the sustainable entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is always, his sustainability will depend upon how the consumers react to their product. So that is also important, that they should be convinced, they should be educated, they should be made aware of these things. I think then it will be easier to promote these products into the market. Okay, so what we find that these issues, it's not that people are not completely aware, but still there is lack of knowledge and lack of work on this, which is to be promoted. Some a very good example of sustainable entrepreneurship at maybe micro level or in different by followed by different companies. I'll just quote some of the examples. For example, we have Patagonia. It is one of the most sustainable clothing brands in the sports and outdoor sector. They are producing the fresh products, but they have been striving to be an environmentally friendly business for more than 20 years. So they have been aware of this. They have been, they were spreading this knowledge among their consumers. And 1% of their revenue also goes for environmental organizations. And they organize, workshops from time to time for their consumers. And they teach them that how to repair their own clothing and belongings, or maybe if they cannot do it, then maybe Patagonia will fix it for them. So this is, enlightening the consumers that yes, how you can contribute in circular maybe economy. So the clothing doesn't have to be Patagonia's. They also encourage sustainable travel also by organizing a yearly event, maybe in the month of June, often when the bicycle loving employees come together and celebrate. So these are small tricks they try to, that they are the sustainable entrepreneurs truly. So here, another example can be your Tony's Choco Lonely. It is, Choco Lonely, it is the winner of Sustainable Brand Index of 2019. Tony's Choco Lonely is a Dutch company that focuses on making the cocoa industry fair trade and free from slave work. This is also, a part of your sustainable entrepreneurship. They calculate the true social cost of their chocolate bar, including all negative social impact and impact on the environment. For example, maybe the child labor, maybe the carbon dioxide emission, etc., etc. And besides working on having a positive social impact, they also work on limiting their environmental impact. According to a ranking process, they according to their report, that is rank a brand report, they don't use palm oil, and they are implementing various measures to offset and reduce the climate change emissions as well, such as maybe measuring the climate impact of its own activities and collaborating with others, maybe non-profit organization who focus on restoring the landscape and re-engineering drying land in Africa, etc., etc. So this is how they are, this Tony's Chocoloni, they are working on to sustain the environment and sustain sustainable entrepreneurship defines so much with them. Then there is another app which is there, Too Good to Go. The name of the app is Too Good to Go. That app, you can download on your phone, and it will help you to rescue the food waste. So many, so many events are there, wedding parties, birthday parties, maybe your restaurants, everyday restaurants have lots of waste food leftovers. So every day, they throw away these perfectly good food due to, company policy, because, and the expiry policy especially, foods are so what does this app does, that this adds up to 10 million tons of food per year through this app. That is, you don't have to throw them out. You can just whatever is left over, whatever is remaining, you just collect at one place where it can be redistributed to those who need it. So with Too Good app to go, with Too Good to Go, you select your own favorite food or store, and then you go up to pick it up at the store for a discount price, and more often more than 50%. So it helps the consumers on the other side too, and the restaurants also, before wasting the whole lot of food. Then we have Triodos Bang. What happens here? It believes in a different way of banking, that is ethical banking. They use the money of their customers to invest in companies that are sustainable or are working to create a better world. So see, they are providing or moving for the financial supports only to those who are working sustainably, and or who are just working towards more ethical to remain sustainable in future, or they give money to invest in those companies only. For example, maybe instead of lending or loaning your money to a fossil sector, maybe it is just an example they quoted there, that is, as ABN, AMRO, or Anning, they do Triodos invest in renewable energy. It has been doing this from the start of the company, which was as early as 1980s. So they also, not only this, whoever their customer is, they also provide them lots of sustainability tips. That what should be the do's and don'ts, what are the rules to be followed, how can you protect your environment, etc., etc., so that they can adopt these measures in order to sustain longer. And finally, one more example I have with me, that is, you all are very fond of the WWF. According to this WWFs, they are the Living Planet Center. Living Planet Center, because they are the workplace. It is a workplace for about 300 employees. It was awarded an excellent rating by the Building Research Establishment Environmental Assessment Model, and includes a central hall, tall room with trees. So that is, carbon oxide emission have been reduced by 25% with the help of those trees. So compared to the WWF's previous office building, and the center produces 50% of its water by collecting rain and recycling used water. So they are taking advantage or making use of these tricks to sustain the environment. Other initiatives, they include the production of 20% of their own electricity through solar panels and water pumps. They have also drawn up environmental purchasing policies, suppliers are expected to take into account the pursuit of an environmentally friendly policy within their objective. So see how they are, promoting an internal sustainable. They are also, providing internal sustainable travel policy. You know that is giving you all types of facilities that how can you travel more sustainably. So these are some of the examples maybe of sustainable entrepreneurship which we have with us, and there are many more. It's not only these 5 6 examples, there are many more who are working in their own small ways, at micro level and at macro level also, because government has also have a very strong role in imposing restrictions and in forcing sustainable entrepreneurship on the entrepreneurs and on the public enterprises also, for a long lasting environment. So I think that is all I have to say for today about sustainable entrepreneurship. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Asia. You are right on time. Thank you. It was a very informative talk on sustainable entrepreneurship. Don't know about others, but I really learned a lot, especially when you spoke about the circular economy. Saying there's a lot of people that don't really know more about it. There's no knowledge or awareness of it. Like I personally just learned about it more today, so I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be researching more about it in the near future. Thank you very much, Professor. Lalami, I will move on to the technical sessions right now. I would like to have the session chairs and the co-session chairs, Dr. Ibrahim Al-Shamsi, and the co-session chair, Dr. Hamid Ansari. So just before we start, I'd like to mention the conference rules again, that all mics should be muted. All authors will be having 12 minutes of presentation and then the 3 minutes of Q&A session. So in total of 15 minutes. So you have to be done with your presentation in 12 minutes, and then you'll have a Q&A session for 3 minutes. For the audience, you can insert your questions in the chat box, and the session chair will be reading them out once the author is done presenting. All right, so the first title or the first presenter is going to be Ms. Elizabeth Martinez, who wrote a paper on operationalization of Negosio Center as an entrepreneurial strategy to selected micro, small, and medium enterprises. So, Ms. Elizabeth, please go ahead. The floor is yours. Ms. Elizabeth, I think your mic is muted.
Okay. Good day to all. Before I start, let me check my audio if it is audible to everyone. Hello?
Yes, it's audible.
Yes, thank you very much. And my presentation, my slides are to share. May I request for the organizer to please allow me to share my slides of presentation?
You already can share.
Yeah, you already have the access to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Is my slides of presentation are visible to everyone?
Yes, it is.
Yes, this I may go now. Thank you very much to the organizers and research participants of the first Economic Transformation and Sustainability International Conference. A warm Tuesday to all. I am Elizabeth B. Martinez, your research presenter for this day, and I am here on behalf of my co-authors from the College of Business, Dr. Amr Hani Al Qasim of Skyline University College, and my co-faculty in the College of Business Management of Taguig City University, Mr. Benjamin B. Aguenza. And we are so delighted to present the research entitled The Operationalization of Negosio Center as an Entrepreneurial Strategy to Selected Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises. So, for the introduction of the papers, micro, small, and medium enterprises is very popular in the Philippines as a business entity engaged in several services, the industry and agriculture, with an asset of 100 million pesos and fewer than 200 employees. And in 2019, Philippine Statistics Office revealed that a total of 1,506,000 business enterprises with a population of 995,745 or 99.5% for micro, small, and medium enterprises and 4,761 or 0.5% the large enterprises accounted for 62.40% of the total business generation as the most driver for unused business people and expansive companies. This makes the Philippines a prosperous country. And with the growth of MSMEs in the Philippines, the government enacted an RA or Republic Act 10644, an act of promoting job generation and inclusive growth through the development of micro, small, and medium enterprises. And it is governed by the Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprise Development Council and the Department of Finance that is mandated in all provinces, cities, and municipalities. And the Go Negosyo Act of 2014 has provided a channel, a team that gives the function to entrepreneurs designed to cater to one-stop shop services needed by MSMEs. And for the research methodology, the research was aid of a survey questionnaire as a means of gathering data with descriptive and quantitative research. And it is computed, statistically computed and interpreted using the statistical treatment through the use of SPSS or the statistical package for the social sciences. And to obtain the required population, the research has a sample size of 209, comprising a micro 55, small 131, and medium 23, and all were enterprise owners of selected barangays in Taguig City. And for the results and discussions, it has 4 tables to show. The first table is about the business profile of the respondents, and Table 1 shows the frequency and percentage of the business profile of the respondents, where it reveals that majority of the respondents have initial capitalization ranging from 50,001 to 100, with the highest frequency of 63 or 30.14%. This implies that the most respondents' initial capitalization started from a small capitalization to operate a business. And also, 98 or 46.89% of the respondents have 1 to 10 number of employees, which means that microbusiness requires an average employee of at least 1 and can operate a business with at least owner-manager. And last, it shows that the respondents with 11 years and above and 68 or 32.54% spend their lives for more than a decade on their business. The second table shows and summarizes the computed mean and the standard deviation, also with verbal interpretations for the level of operationalization of Negosyo Center of MSMEs. And it has with 7 variables, namely the mindset change, mastery, mentoring, money, machines, market access, models of negosyo. And based on the computation, the highest rank among the list of the variables is the models of negosyo with a weighted mean of 3.30, and it is stated that it all agree that the center has quick market access to shared facilities. The clusters and value chains in selected MSMEs, implying that the Negosyo Center offers prospective entrepreneurs a variety of business model, plans to lead them, and programs ranging from traditional business lines to direct selling and franchising and improving their livelihood skills. And for table number 3, it shows the relationship of the assessment of the respondents on the level of operationalization Negosyo Center for MSMEs on the variables as indicated by the person R. So the value of each variable were obtained for mastery, mentoring, money, machines, market access, and models of negosyo respectively. So based on the results, the null hypothesis is rejected because all R values are greater than the critical value of 0.087 at 0.05 level of significance and 207 of degree of freedom. And as a result, variables have all significant relationship to each other. And for table number 4, it shows the difference between the level of operationalization of Negosyo Center of MSMEs when grouped according to profile as determined by the p-value of one-way ANOVA or F-test. And as table reveals, the two, initial capitalization and the number of years in the business, have both p-value of 0.00, which are less than a 0.05 level of significance, and the null hypothesis is rejected, indicating that there is significant difference between the levels of operationalization of Negosyo Center of MSMEs. And on the other hand, the number of employees business profiles with p-value of 0.127 is greater than 0.05, indicating that it is not significant and accepted the hypothesis. And for the conclusion, based on the findings of the study, the respondents have majority of initial capitalization ranging from 50,001 and to 100,000 with 1 to 10 employees and existed for more than 11 years in business operation. And the 7 M's of entrepreneurial strategy contribute to the ease of doing business and that they are connected to each other to ensure the success of the enterprise. And the level of operationalization of Negosyo Center have significant relationship because all P values are greater than the critical value of 0.087 at 0.05 level of significance. And last, the difference when grouped according to the business profile to the initial capitalization and the number of years of the business have significant difference while the number of employee is not significant difference. And And that is the end of the presentation, and thank you very much for your listening. Hello, and now it's now turn to the organizers for some questions and comments and suggestion about this presentation.
Dr. Ibrahim and Dr. Ansari.
There's no question received till now from the audience. However, I have a question. If there's no question, I have a question for her. How did you find out the null hypothesis rejected for the initial capitalization to the research?
Okay, thank you very much, sir. The null hypothesis is rejected based on the computation being used through the use of SPSS. And with the sample size, with the participation of the sample size of the respondents, it has come up to the rejection because all p-values are less than the required p-values of 0.05.
That's very good. Thank you. And another question is, how you selected the sample size of 209 based on what?
The sample size of the respondents are comprises of 209 business owners in Taguig City, Philippines, because this is used by the simple random sampling on the time started March 2021 and ended on May 2021. Because of limited time, because of the pandemic period on that time, so we just have looked for some 209 business owners to be our respondents and given the survey questionnaires to answer the necessary information for the research.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Well presented on operationalization of negotiation system for entrepreneurship strategy. You did a very good job on SME of Philippines, getting the sample of 209, and it well fine. And you also take care of the money, machine, and market access. That was well done. And methodology you followed very well through the questionnaire, quantitative research you did with the SPSS. I thank you, and we all thank you for the good work. You tested the null hypothesis. You also find out the employee stayed with approximately 10 to 11 years time. Well done, keep it up. Thank you, so nice of you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for your comments.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. We'll move on to the next presenter, Dr. Henry Kayamsati, who is going to be presenting his paper on digitalization and emerging business trends for sustainable transformation of SME sector, a proposed model for survival and sustainability in uncertainties. Dr. Henry, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Is my voice clear to everyone? I've shared my slides.
Yes, your voice is clear and your screen is visible.
Once again, good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Dr. Henry, who is the Assistant Professor, Faculty of Business and Science in Modern College of Business and Science. So I'm going to present a small research study on digitalization, an emerging business trend for sustainable transformation of SME sectors. And a small model was also proposed based on our study. And this study is also co-authored by Dr. Hisham, who is the Associate Dean, Quality Assurance, Faculty of Business and Science, Modern College of Business and Science. Moving on to the topic, digitalization. What is digitalization? I think we can better understand by looking at the picture on the right side. It reminds me of a better example of digitalization. We see now everything is in one stop, one place getting. So we can see here earlier when we want to get a mobile SIM card, we need to do a lot of paperwork. We have to go to the office. But now because of the advancement, and I would say partly because of the COVID, we have got these machines where it can dispense the SIM card, dispense the license, dispense almost anything that we want right now. So that is a better example of what I would say is digitalization. Now, digitalization is a process of converting information into electronic format by using different technologies, most probably by converting the generic into or analogous into a digital layout. So that's what exactly is digitalization. And digitalization is mostly emphasized in the industrial third revolution. And the fourth industrial revolution is taking further the digitalization concept through automation, Internet of Things, big data, and I would say back business, and so on and so forth. So in this context, what we are looking at is SMEs, small and medium price enterprises. So they are the global employment generators. If you say 90% of the global business is all coming from the SMEs, and 50%, I would say, overall employment is across through these organizations. So why SMEs and what it is linking to the digitalization? We see if we look at the forecast by 2030 or beyond that, SMEs has a potential to provide 600 million jobs, according to World Bank, World V Forum, and even other business organizations. So we can see what role the SMEs are going to play, and in this context of the fourth industrial revolution with digitalization. If we look at the background of the concept of the study, we have focused on SMEs, apart from the larger firms. Most of the least developed countries and the developing countries, most of them contribute to the major chunk of the countries in the world. We have around 46 least development countries according to World Bank, and more than 150 developing countries. So we can see most of these countries are classified as middle income, lower order middle income, or lower income. SMEs are becoming an emerging business economies in these two countries. And if you see in southeastern Mediterranean countries, 90 to 95% of the organizations are coming from SMEs. So these SMEs are primarily employment generators. They are flexible in operation. They are entrepreneurship. We have seen a lot of papers and studies in the past. We also looked at some of the talks on entrepreneurship. They also form supply chain to larger firms. And smaller firms, because of their nature, they have become more innovative and they have started adopting new innovative business strategies. Say, for example, e-business applications, innovations of technology and communication technology. And not least about that is the digital and digitalization applications. Now, the study purpose is to highlight how this digitalization and digital technology is faring well in SMEs and examining the scope, how this is taking forward the SMEs into the current generation and what is a trend that is going on with SMEs and how digitalization is transforming the business in SMEs is what we have looked into. Now, going to the pandemic has caught everyone a surprise. No one has expected this to going to be a pandemic and affecting the entire world. To someone, we can say it has caught everyone by surprise, and not surprisingly, SMEs are already caught in this look. So pandemic has got positive and negative implications on SMEs. So if you look at some of the implications which has really affected and impacted the global business, particularly SMEs, it has disrupted the financial support, business disruption, shortage of manpower we have seen across different sectors, business survival, It was also studied that in some countries, almost 70 to 80% of SMEs have to be shut down partially and completely. Low revenue generation, declining orders because of no demand, shortage of cash flow, fall in demand, and transport restrictions have caused resource supply. And you may have also heard about the news that automobile manufacturing have to be delayed. Let me quote one example. Toyota has delayed orders and dispatching some of the vehicles because they have a shortage of chips. Even the smartphones like iPhone, they have to be delayed because of the chip industry, which got affected mainly because of resource shortage. So this is some of the examples we can quote that the pandemic has brought an implication on the SMEs. Now, methodology, we have followed an exploratory study, secondary data, and based on the secondary data that we have taken from the literature, the previous research done by various researchers, by visiting some of the organizations, we have compiled all the data, and from that we have analyzed and compared to how much we have the information, and based on that, we have worked out the positive things of digitalization on SMEs, what are the negative impacts and what are the challenges, and how SMEs can go ahead in successfully implementing these digitalization models. And we have also come up with a proposed model where SMEs or the startups can use these models to move on ahead during the uncertainties. Now, findings and discussion, COVID pandemic implications on SME sectors globally. This has come mainly from our literature studies and secondary data. Globally, for the knowledge information, we have 112.98 million SMEs scattered around the world. This is statistics of the year 2020. This is slightly less from 2019. We can say that 2019, before the pandemic has started, there are far more number of SMEs, but the number came down in 2020 because of the pandemic. Maybe some of the SMEs have been partially shut down or temporarily closed. Now, Asia Pacific region has the highest, 131.88 million SMEs, followed by the Europe and Middle East region, which includes the GCC, and 25 million North and South America. Now, this pandemic has caused implication on both LDC and developing countries, as we have seen before, by different reasons, and it has caused positive as well as negative. We cannot say the pandemic has totally affected the SMEs, but in one way, there is a way out that has really taught a lesson for SMEs to come out during the uncertainties. And if you look at the sectors that are largely affected because of the COVID pandemic on SMEs, mostly transportation, manufacturing, construction, and trade and business, air transport to a larger extent, accommodation, hospitality and service sector, even healthcare sector was affected. So across 8 countries, if you say 70% of them have shut down. This is some of the statistics which were released by World Bank and WE Forum. And 50% of them have to be closed because of no sales and orders, which has significantly affected these enterprises. Now, if you look at the implications, and if you think about what has the pandemic affected the SMEs in both positive and negative side, if you can summarize them, we came up with such a kind of model where the pandemic has caused some strengths to the SMEs. It has also brought some weaknesses through negatives. It has also got some opportunities through some different types of other means, and it has also brought some threats towards negative side. So if you look at the strengths and opportunities, these can be classified as positive opportunities where the pandemic has brought, where the SMEs can be exploring these positive opportunities. And some of these positive opportunities, I would say, are the digital technology or digitalization or digital transformation. And looking at the negative side, what the pandemic has brought, which will be towards the weaknesses and towards the threats, is the adoption gaps. Now, how far is the technology? How far is the digital transformation? How far are people aware of the digital literacy? And how far are these SMEs getting support from the government? Are all the gaps that are, I would say, are pulling down the SMEs towards the adoption of digitalization. So we have dependable factors and independent factors together contributing to these adoption gaps and together contributing to the digital technology tools. Now, digital technology concept in SMEs, in developing and developed economies, is slightly different. There's slight difference in there, but COVID-19 has narrowed down the business opportunities, I would say, in SMEs, because they have put the SMEs under uncertainty what is going to happen to continue the business. So the question of business continuity has put all the SMEs on a tight pipeline. But digital technology has gained, because the third industrial revolution talks about digital technology, digitalization. And now we are currently in the fourth industrial revolution, which is carrying the digitalization and digital technology concept. So in that way, I would say, if SMEs have a better opportunity, or I would say SMEs have a better facility to build upon the business based on the industrial third revolution as well as the fourth industrial revolution, I would say digitalization has added a new dimension to it. Now, along with this digital transformation is a holistic process where different sectors, I would say manufacturing currently, transportation, hospitality, tourism, healthcare, they've all tried to explore this by using different digital technology applications, or I would say the fourth industrial revolution applications like RFID, back-to-back business, cloud computing, automation, cybersecurity, so on and so forth. So I would say digital transformation has improved the market. Now, by using this, and we have substantial studies saying in the research reports that 85% growth was found in revenue generation. For example, if you look at Brazil, 50% of the SMEs have migrated to digital technologies, not just because of the pandemic, but they are already in the process of doing it right from the third industrial revolution. Now, some other studies report that 40% of the organizations have already reached that digital application milestone, where 95% of the organizations have already incorporated, I would say, one or the other form of their digital tools in their operations. Now, if we quantify what are the volume of digital tools or digital technology applications that are used across all sectors, we found out that most of the digital technology applications are found to the larger volume in healthcare, in manufacturing, followed by retail, hospitality, education, financial services, media, EPC, transport, so on and so forth like that. So which means this tree implies that organizations are not left behind. They are moving on ahead by using these digital technologies or tools in the process of digitalization. And it has, in fact, boosted their business. And we can say that they are also in the path of generating more revenue by using this. So digitalization concept has moved progressively. It is moving on progressively. And it has, and it is integrated into the SME's business, but not to 100%, but to certain levels in different sectors. Now, looking at the past studies.
Mr. Henry, please. You have only 3 minutes just to finish your presentation.
Yeah,
please.
If you look at the past models, these are some of the models which other people have put forward in digital transformation. And based on this, we have developed our own model, which is looking after the models that were proposed by various researchers. Now, the model that we have is based on Plan, Do, Check, Act, which is the most popular management system process, and we have followed that particular path and proposed this model. So in this model, where most of the business organizations, even the new startups, they can adopt this model and try to adopt it as a framework so that they can transform their business, or they can adopt a digitalization transformation model. Now, this is built upon 3 important sections. One is a constructive phase, one is a deployment phase, and a reinforcement phase. In constructive phase, the organization has to identify their goals, the business goals, identify their objectives for digital transformation, and identify the range of tools that will be fitting into their business. And in the deployment phase, they have to deploy those tools which are appropriately identified in the constructive phase. And in the reinforcement phase, with the participation of the stakeholder communication, and also the shareholder contribution, the technologies or the digital technology tools that have been identified have to be implemented, or I would say have to take off in their business operations. So the reinforcement phase is mostly involving a digital transformation. So digital transformation cannot take place just in a one-step process, but it has to be coming on through construction phase, and deployment phase, and a reinforcement phase. So this is a model which we have worked on, where it can help the small SMEs or new startups how they can transform their business into a sustainable way, and how they can go on ahead to maintain their business continuity or improve their performance in a sustainable way, especially during the pandemic. Now, the implications is larger firms are a competition, I would say, to SMEs, but SMEs can be competitive by embracing these digital technologies, most probably by using the model pathways which are given by various researchers, because the various researchers have given their model pathways or roadmap for digitalization in a different format. So the one that we have proposed can be easily used and can be easily adopted because it follows a plan to check that, which is a management system. It is also following the structure given by William Deming, who is the father of total quality management. So to remain competitive with larger firms, SMEs have to embrace the digital technologies, but how to go ahead with the digital technology transformation, they can use these models. Now, SME sectors need coordination. Apart from that, they are not alone to take up all these things. They need support from the government bodies. They can also take the support from other organizations in developing their own strategy for transforming their business into digitalization. And apart from that, all SMEs also have to focus on three important entities. One is operational efficiency, customer satisfaction, and employee participation. And without that, we cannot see the benefit of digital transformation happening in the SMEs. And by the way, the employee productivity, customer satisfaction, and operational efficiency are also embedded in the model that we have proposed, which means this model is as good as the ones that are proposed by various researchers in the past, but this looks more realistic to the context that these three different entities, the employee participation, the customer satisfaction, and the operational efficiency, are all taken care through this model. So thank you very much. These are our references for the study. I'm very thankful to everyone for listening to our presentation. If you have any questions or any suggestions, I'm very much welcome. Thank you very much.
Is there any question from the attendees? Dr. Henry, you are very lucky. Dr.
Any
Henry,
questions?
Can you hear me?
No, no
Dr. Henry, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Dr. Henry, you are very lucky. People, they don't want to trouble you.
No problem, sir. If any questions are there, you can.
But I have a few questions.
To the best of my knowledge, I can clarify.
I have a few questions. You're talking about the digitalization, the part of IR3 and IR4.
Yes, sir.
So do you think that digitalization has improved the IR4 to a large extent?
Actually, digitalization is not part of IR4, sir, because it is carrying the digitalization is a part of IR3.
Okay.
And digitalization itself is not confined to any particular industrial revolution, but it is carrying forward to the IR4 through automation, through Internet of Things, and through different other technologies. So I would say that digitalization is not just for a matter of 3 to 4 years, but it is carrying on through IR4, and it will be also going ahead to IR5 and 6. So it has a very long forecast.
Thank you for explanation. Dr. Henry, you have well presented the things, and you well defined the big data. You also talking about the the number of SMEs likely to by 2030, with 600 million jobs it is creating. You also talk about the RFID, cloud computing, big data and all. Even tomorrow with the digitalization, we can sell and purchase the land online.
Yes, sir.
Only it is doable. If
Yes.
Ministry of Housing, they want to sell and purchase the house online, or the issue the crew key, it is doable today. Just only to be implemented. So IR 4 has changed the things. IR 5 is further going to be changed. By IR 6, even the doctor can do the surgery remotely.
Yes,
The days are not far. Doctor can be in England and surgery can be done in Royal Hospital.
Yes.
Just matter of time.
Right.
I thank you, Dr. Henry. Well presented. Keep it up.
Just one more thing I want to add, sir, what you said. One of the other application of digitalization is the eSIM. So we don't have to physically visit a service provider to buy a SIM card, but right sitting at the home, we can configure our smartphone for an eSIM, but there are only some mobiles like iPhone, but in future, all mobiles will be enabled with eSIM where we don't have to go anywhere. So that's again an advancement or progression of the digitalization.
One more thing, just a comment. Even eSIM can be incorporated in your resident card, and
Yes, sir,
you can be
that's
given
coming. Even the digitalization of the passport.
Yeah, and it can be, and you can be given a unique ID from the at the time of the birth itself, and that unique ID is valid anywhere in the world.
Yes.
I'm again thank you, Dr. Henry, for a good presentation. Well, keep it up.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks for the organizers for giving this chance. Thank you for the chair and the co-chair. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Henry, for the informative presentation. Now I'd like to welcome the session chair, Dr. Ibrahim Al-Shamsi, to say a few remarks on the technical session. Dr. Ibrahim.
Thank you, Ahmed. Is my voice clear?
Yes, it's clear. Go ahead.
Okay, so dear authors, researchers, and delegates across the globe, as assistant chair, it was a proud moment for me to listen and understand the opinion based on the scientific researches by the two presentations today. The first presentation was on the operationalization of the Negocio Center as entrepreneurial strategy to selected micro, small, and medium enterprises. Thanks to Ms. Elizabeth. The second paper was on the digitalization, an emerging business trend for the sustainable transformation of SME sector, a proposed model for survival and sustainability in uncertainties. Thanks a lot for Dr. Henry. And I would like to say that all of the three papers have gone through a standard review process, and the way the data were presented were quite intriguing. In the total, they justify the theme of this technical sessions, entrepreneurial interventions, innovations, and emerging business practices. As a matter of fact, the higher education institutions in the GCC countries are also promoting entrepreneurship education by running specialized courses in entrepreneurship. So far, the delivery methods of the classes was mainly face-to-face till the time the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic happened. So the university had to close their routine activities and had to conduct their teaching and learning process through the online platform, as you know. And the higher education institutes are equipped to handle the natural disasters like earthquake, tornadoes, and so on, but are not ready to deal with the health crisis like COVID-19. Despite all the odds, the pandemic brought enormous opportunity in the area of online teaching and virtual meeting. Also, the entrepreneurial opportunity that have emerged in the arena of food security healthcare sectors, hygiene and sanitation, agriculture and education. So the governments, researchers and educators need to prepare the entrepreneurs to harness the emergent need immediately. That requires special attention of the entrepreneurial university and institutions like University of Miami and Modern College of Business and Sciences. So in today's time, startup and entrepreneurs are creating a major impacts across the world. So every sector is going through the huge transformational changes brought by innovative solution design and developed by bright entrepreneurial community across the globe. So a new and innovative product and solution developed by the entrepreneurs are not only impacting people's lives in a positive way, but I also contributing toward the emergence of significant socio-economic factors affecting entrepreneurship development. So I believe that the conference like this facilitate the young minds to flourish and innovate. Enabling an environment need to be created to boost their entrepreneurial mindset. And the education had always been, as you know, the backbone of every big change that we have seen in the past. So educators have had a big role to play in building this mindset among youth to be innovative entrepreneurs and solve permanent problems. So young minds, they should have to be trained, and groomed to be a problem solver very early in their lives. Government have to come up with the policies and the framework to enable entrepreneurship and motivate founders to come up with more effective ways of doing things. So with these words, I would extend my best wishes to all the future entrepreneurs, researchers, and educators. Every hard time paves the way for a brighter tomorrow. So let us come together and work together in promoting entrepreneurship. We at College of Business, University of Miami, have a provision to support and incubate innovative business idea. Please feel free to approach us. Our details are available in the university website. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ibrahim, for the kind words, and I completely agree with you with what you say. The statement that entrepreneurs or entrepreneurship does not only benefit the individuals but also the socioeconomic of the country. Hence, the Ministry of Higher Education has urged universities to have a course on entrepreneurship and creativity, so that all the students could have the knowledge in case one day they do decide to uh, go into the path of being entrepreneurs, because most businesses fail because they don't really have clues and or knowledge on how to start a business. So what you said was completely true. Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to thank all the authors for this session. I'd like to thank Professor Asya for your talk, the session chairs, the co-chair. Right now would go on a small break. We'll be back at 1:40, where we'll be having a masterclass on entrepreneurship and SMEs, which is going to be given by Dr. David Spicer, who is the Director of Business Engagement in the Faculty of Management and Law in University of Bradford. So we'll have a small break right now. We'll come back or resume at 1:40. I'll see you all at 1:40. Thank you. Good afternoon, good morning. Welcome back to the first Economic Transformation and Sustainability International Conference. I would like to introduce Dr. David Spicer, who's going to be giving us a masterclass on entrepreneurship and SMEs. Dr. David Spicer is the Director of Business Engagement in the Faculty of Management Law and Social Science in the University of Bradford. He is leading on the development of the School of Management's program and portfolio in respect of small business and entrepreneurship. In addition, Dr. David is also a program leader for the School of Human Resource Management degrees. Dr. David, please, thank you very much for being here, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Delighted to be joining you all this afternoon. It's this morning here, but it's this afternoon for you guys. So we'll stick with local time. It will probably make life easier. Really delighted to be joining and kind of sharing a bit of what we've been doing here at kind of Bradford. I'm just in the process of sorting out my slides, so hopefully you can see those now.
Yes, we can.
Brilliant, thank you. So I think the title you were given was to talk about entrepreneurship and SMEs, and actually what I'm going to talk in detail about is some of the lessons that we've learned from the ongoing research that we've been doing with SMEs in our local region here in West Yorkshire and in Bradford in particular, following on from COVID-19 and through that kind of COVID period. In respect of kind of its impact on and relationship with engagement and kind of resilience. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the research, some of the key findings from that, and then the lessons learned, both for small businesses, but also for us as a school in terms of how we're helping that kind of local kind of economy in that regard. So our aim in the research was to investigate the impact of and response to COVID-19 in small and medium-sized enterprises, and we focused on our Yorkshire region. So you wouldn't necessarily know Bradford, so we're at the centre of the Yorkshire region, so in the north of England, in the middle of the UK island, as it were, and within Bradford and the region in particular, we do have a very high proportion of small and medium-sized kind of enterprises. So a lot of businesses within that kind of environment. And we know from conversations that we have with them on an ongoing basis, the challenges and difficulties that they have. A big part of my job as Director of Business and Community Engagement is working with those local businesses in providing support for them and helping them engage and kind of work with our kind of students as well. In terms of the research, we're going to talk about two phases done over the course of about 9 months in the initial COVID period. So over that period, a series of focus groups looking at best practices and exploring ways in which businesses can rebuild and grow following COVID-19, and that's actually an ongoing piece of research. So we're still doing those focus groups through that period as well. And then alongside that, the focus group started first and have extended longitudinally. We did a survey of SMEs looking at responses to COVID and plans kind of following on from that. So following on from the peak COVID period, a survey looking at how they'd responded and what they were looking to do next. In terms of those focus groups, the sample I'm talking about today, we had 74 participants across 11 focus groups in total. A reasonable spread in terms of size, but a bit of a bias towards the kind of micro firms, the 42 having 10 employees or less, and a reasonable spread in terms of sectors. That's pretty representative of the kind of sector balance that we have kind of regionally as well. And in terms of that kind of sample, we had 17 CEOs, 7 other managers from those small firms, 39 to the majority that class themselves as small firm owners. But we also had within that sample what we called sector representatives. So that's people like the Federation of Small Business and other kind of organizations that work with and support the kind of small business kind of sector locally as well. In terms of the survey, just over 650 respondents, 60% male, not quite 40% female, and a reasonable kind of distribution there as well. So those are reasonable samples from which to kind of draw some inferences and insights around kind of COVID and the lessons learned for kind of businesses in that regard. In terms of a kind of research framework, the kind of things we were looking at was what's been the impact of COVID-19, and we looked in 6 areas. So how's that's affected demand, the impact on people, supply chain, whether it was leading to changes in business models and technology adoption, and how it was affecting firms' growth orientation. So were they looking to grow as a kind of consequence of COVID? We looked at performance against a kind of range of measures. So sales, profitability, size of the workforce, but also efficiency, image, and goodwill. And we asked the firms to assess those pre and post the COVID period to see what changes that we'd had or seen as a consequence of that. And then we looked at capabilities for resilience and recovery. So things around entrepreneurial orientation, things around resilience, and attitudes in respect of leadership. Now, I'm not going to cover all of that today. That would probably be a good day's worth of a seminar rather than the 40 minutes or so that we've got together this afternoon. So I'm talking about 2 areas, the kind of the people side and the engagement aspects, and how that links with and relates to the kind of the resilience aspects of this, particularly from a kind of firm level. But just in terms of kind of macro level kind of dynamics and kind of drivers in that regard, in terms of the impact of COVID, key question, has COVID decreased demand? And yes, we did see a majority of firms agreeing with that statement. You'd not be surprised to hear. Just over 50%, perhaps a smaller percentage than you might have expected. A smaller subset of firms that actually said they'd increased demand as a response of COVID. So one of the dynamics of COVID here in the UK, one of the consequences of the lockdown and the changes in behaviour over lockdown is it did benefit some businesses, and not just the obvious businesses providing things like face masks and hand gel, as it were, but also businesses that had business models that was suited to people being at home and spending time at home. So one respondent happened to run a hot tub hire business. In the initial COVID period, he was locked down completely, but once he was able to kind of start leasing his hot tubs again, he said he had massive demand because people were spending more time at home and were looking for things to do on that kind of basis as well. So that changes in consumer behavior create quite a kind of complex kind of picture in terms of the impact of COVID on demand. Massively economically challenging, but for some firms, kind of an opportunity. But what we did see is, from our data, from the survey, 1 in 10 survey firms ceased trading, so that is significant. 75% saw increased operational demands as a result of kind of COVID. So that's a continuing kind of issue. Changes to operating models and how that's affecting businesses is still something businesses are dealing with today. Nearly 75% had significantly lower sales volume as a kind of consequence of kind of COVID, and that kind of fed through into profit as well. So some small kind of positives, but overall a kind of a fairly kind of big kind of picture. In terms of people and productivity and kind of issues around engagement, we asked about kind of difficulties in terms of kind of maintaining kind of staff within the survey, and found a fairly kind of spread response in that regard. So just over a quarter, not quite a third of firms agreeing that they did have some difficulty in maintaining staff. But over not quite 50%, but a much bigger proportion disagreeing with that statement, a high proportion of kind of neutral firms. So actually, in terms of the impact on kind of people and the challenges of maintaining staff, that was quite an interesting dynamic. for the small firms that we were kind of dealing with in that regard. When we drilled into that with kind of some of the focus group members, they talked about things like the furlough scheme as being kind of significant in that regard. And here in the UK, the government paid 80% of people's salaries if they were retained by firms but were not currently working, kind of on that kind of basis. So to try and maintain and protect jobs over that kind of COVID period, help firms in kind of maintaining kind of staff as a kind of consequence of that. But what we did find is that a lot of the firms that we were talking to, in fact, all of the respondents in the focus group suggested that kind of COVID had significantly and mostly positively impacted on productivity in the short term. You've got a quote there from one of the respondents at the top of the page. We've learned how productive it can be with less staff. It is likely that we'll not bring everyone back from this kind of the furlough kind of experience. So firms found that in the COVID period, benefits of home working, process improvements, the result of increased technology, the enhanced commitment and contributions from those staff that were retained and working, refocused priorities and streamlined activities. So looking at business models and actually looking at what parts of product or services offers they maintained, all supported and kind of helped that kind of productivity as a kind of consequence of that. As the research has gone on, though, we did see, Keeson kind of raising of issues around challenges of isolation, impacting on health and well-being of kind of staff. And certainly here in the UK, currently one of the big tensions that remains, even as we come out of the COVID period, is that tension between the increased use of technology, flexible working and home working, and the fact that most businesses expect that to stay and be part of kind of firms and their operations kind of going forward. It does create kind of tensions in terms of kind of engagement and issues about ensuring that people are part of the organization, part of the culture, and kind of part of the expectations of the business as a consequence of that. We also saw two quite interesting findings from an economic kind of perspective as well. So a recurrent suggestion that redundancies were likely as firms streamlined operations, and not just because of the economy. So firms looking at how they'd operated in the COVID period and say, well, actually, we can do 80% of our business with 40% of the people. So that's actually a much better position to be in. So let's reformulate on that kind of basis. And firms reducing office spaces and moving some operations online. And that's got major potential impacts for city centres and office spaces around the region if that's a trend that continues. And it certainly does seem to be in the medium term as well. In terms of kind of outcomes from that and looking at the kind of the impact on kind of engagement, there's a number of kind of key themes that therefore come out of the research that small firms regionally, and I would argue firms more generally, need to be considering as we look at how we design work post kind of COVID-19. So work and job design, we need to think clearly and properly about the impact of virtual working on jobs and organizations, and not just assume that something that happens naturally. You have to have that designed in and think about opportunities for engagement and interaction as a kind of consequence of that. We have to think about our responsibilities for the quality of people's life, both working and personal, and balancing out kind of flexibility versus isolation. So I did speak to one respondent who was finding it very difficult to be working in isolation and was desperate to get back into the office, desperate to be interacting with people, and desperate to have that routine kind of back in their life. So we don't necessarily all want the same levels of flexibility, and firms need to account for that. We need to think about working environments, suitability of home working environments and facilities in particular. So here in the UK over the COVID period, lots of people working from bedrooms and kitchen tables, and doing that as a short-term measure was probably acceptable. But if we have higher expectations of people working flexibly and working from home? Have they got an appropriate home environment to kind of be working in? And is that okay? I was quite lucky. I've got a good home office set up, but at times that, over the COVID period, there was myself, my wife who's a teacher, and our two kids all working from home, and there's physically only so many spaces where somebody can set up a kind of workspace on that basis. How do we ensure we have interaction with colleagues, both formal and informal? That kind of the social nature of the workplace is important to people, and we need to make sure we maintain that alongside effective communication as well. And that feeds into thinking about efforts to into kind of managing and mainlining kind of culture. So how do we make sure that that is maintained kind of over kind of flexible kind of periods and those kind of things? But again, that feeds back in terms of the attitudes of employees. So firms doing this effectively talked about, how that kind of, it led to high levels of engagement and people going above and beyond. But then there's challenges in maintaining that long term. Critical in that is then for the quality of the leadership, is how the people at the top of those organizations create the environment that enables for those, which is a point I'll come back to in a second. In terms of kind of the impact, then we saw a lot of kind of dynamics around engagement in kind of particular, but firms largely expecting to kind of recover, but typically thinking that's a long period, that it's a 2 to 3 year, and certainly that here in the UK that evidence is kind of bearing out. And firms talked about building resilience as key. So things like having kind of funding and finance for growth and to maintain businesses over the short term. So again, the economic support provided by UK government for small firms was valued, and a lot of disappointment from firms that couldn't access that for various reasons. We need to think about infrastructure. So we got appropriate physical and digital infrastructure for kind of flexible working. Things like, I live in a fairly rural location in Yorkshire. Our internet isn't great. I'm in the office on the hard wire today for those reasons, to kind of talk to you on that basis. We need to think about capacity for innovation, for low working creativity in firms. We need to think about building strong networks internally and externally within organizations, because those are kind of key for ensuring firm success. We need to think about business model change, as I've already alluded to, that actually the firms looking quite radically at their business models and product and service offers, and can they do things differently? And do we have the managerial capabilities and capacities to deal with these kinds of things? What we found when we looked at the firms in our sample, so this is the survey data, so the 654 firms that we've got there, and we looked at the kind of the characteristics of resilience, we found that they clustered into two clear and kind of distinct groups. So the cluster one, which we've labeled the high resilience firms, so the firms that are consistently scoring higher on those measures of kind of resilience, showed stronger sales performance, lower impact on profitability, stronger non-financial measures of performance, and stronger employment. They maintained and engaged higher numbers of employees over the kind of the period of their kind of research as well. So those firms doing all the things that I've just talked about, and doing those effectively, significantly impactful on their response to COVID and their ability to kind of weather that kind of COVID period. Back to the leadership issue as well, we found that owner managers' psychological resilience was also significant in helping to minimize the impact of COVID on firms, and particularly on firm profitability. That actually, there's the dynamics at the firm level, especially with small firms, the attitude, the approach, the mindset of the boss is kind of absolutely key as well. So in terms of the conclusions that we kind of might kind of draw from that and the research that we've done, the kind of things that firms need to be thinking about are, and whilst these are lessons from COVID, I think these are good lessons for the new normal, for business kind of in the future, about what ensures kind of firm success. So we need a clear strategic narrative. Firms reported the need to focus on maintaining focus and culture in a challenging COVID context, and good firms put significant efforts into doing that. And keeping that focus and keeping that cultural identity for firms kind of going forward is likely to kind of be key as well in terms of kind of success. Resilience is important as well. So firms need to build on this, and their kind of experience is key in ensuring this. So the crisis that is COVID has made successful firms more confident about their abilities to respond in the future. And the evidence, not just from COVID, but from other shocks, does suggest and tell us that firms that do weather these kind of storms find themselves better placed to do these things now and again when other challenges kind of face them in the future. So we have a local town near us in Bradford called Hebden Bridge. Hebden Bridge is quite a vibrant local town, a lot of independent small businesses based there. They're an area that has twice inside an 18-month period been flooded pre-COVID. The managers that I know from that town are highly resilient, because you have to be, because they've been through that experience. And if you've not been able to get through that and get back on your feet and keep going, then you're probably not going to still be trading, but that makes you much more capable of dealing with shocks kind of in the future as well. Linked to that is actually the engagement and of managers, and having them as engaging individuals as well is key, as is quality of communication, and additional effort is required when working virtually. So if we're going to keep virtual modes of working, we need to make sure that we're communicating with people in the right kind of ways and kind of consistently. Yeah, and good firms did that with all employees, including those that were on furlough. So didn't leave a kind of forgotten group of people because they weren't in the workplace at a particular time. Employee voice. So in thinking about engagement and commitment, that was lost in the early stages of the pandemic. But as recovered as new working practices became the norm and new mechanisms were put in place. And again, going forward, that's key, that we ensure that we're getting the feedback and the insights and the advice and kind of guidance that we need kind of going forward. And integrity is key. From our research, considerable evidence of firms investing time and effort in maintaining values and being explicit in how they've adapted norms and expectations in light of COVID and circumstances in the pandemic. And again, for somebody that spent 20 plus years researching and being interested in strategic change, that's a watchword that I would see as integral all of the time. That if you put that time and effort in, if you're explicit in your communications and expectations, by and large, people will understand the dynamics and the challenges and will work with you to address those as best they can. From that, our recommendations for small firms, it's about having strategic priorities. It's about building those capabilities of resilience at both the firm and the leadership level. It's about developing a flexible working policies, digital skills on the back of this technological transformation that's been accelerated. We see a lot on supply chain challenges, which I've not really touched on today, but that's a key issue kind of going forward as well. And management and leadership capacity building as kind of part and parcel of that as well. For policymakers, we need management and leadership training for these firms. Otherwise, they're going to struggle to fulfill their role in the economy. And we need to ensure that the support that's provided is fit for purpose and signposted. So one of the challenges that we found in the COVID period was a lot of firms didn't know how to or where to go to access support, despite there being support available. We need digital skills development. We need support for employment, as we're seeing that feeding through, certainly here in the UK. We need to look at the underused or unused spaces that are likely to come out as a consequence of COVID, and look at localizing supply chains. That's been a big kind of discussion agenda kind of post-COVID as well. So in terms of my day job, what we've been doing about that, here at kind of Bradford, we've set up a couple of programs to help with small firm development. So we're one of the partners on a program called Help to Grow Management. That's a national program that's funded by government here that provides support for small firm leaders in developing growth plans kind of post kind of COVID, and we've delivered our first cohort of that and have plans for kind of further cohorts as we kind of go forward. But that's a national program as well that only accesses certain firms. So we've been looking at other kind of mechanisms we can use to support firms kind of regionally as well. We've done work with the Bradford Community Recovery and Resilience Fund, so having a specific support fund to help businesses with strategic projects and to access the resource that we've got available in terms of academic and student times, and what we call our Bradford Business Challenge projects, so sending our students out to work in those local businesses to deal with operational challenges and issues that they've been kind of facing and kind of dealing with. We've worked on digital skills support. So we run what we call a community career booster program. So using our resources to train people up in terms of digital skills. And we work with SAS on their STEP program, which was a pilot program for developing digital skills that's now been rolled out as a kind of national kind of program as kind of part and parcel of that. And then we have our KTN, which is our knowledge transfer network, which are regular speaking and networking events for our local community. Since COVID, we've run those as hybrids. We've run some of those online as well. So if you're interested in those, wherever you are in the world, you would be able to access those. Just drop me a line and I can get you added in to our kind of mailing list. But we've also got based here at the school a community innovation hub. So that's space for small businesses to come and use our facilities to work with students again, but with our support kind of team around capacity and capability building. So a sort of flexible space on campus that allows businesses to come and access kind of university resources, a bit like a shared working, networking kind of space, kind of on that kind of basis. And as I've already mentioned, we're doing kind of further research looking at the longitudinal impact of kind of COVID. This is something that has definitely not gone away. The headlines here in the UK are we're seeing a rise in infections yet again, despite the fact that we've normalized effectively as far as we can. And it's going to be something that's going to be part and parcel of our kind of our working lives, but our lives full stop. For at least a few more years, I'm sure. So understanding that and how that's fundamentally changed the nature of business seems to be an important question that we should be looking at as well. So I hope you have found that interesting. Sorry, I've got too many windows open. And I think we've now got time for a few questions, if I'm correct.
Yes, we do. Thank you very much, Dr. David Spicer, for the insightful presentation on your research. It's a very good thing that we came and with this conference talking about one of the tracks, talking about entrepreneurship, as it's one of the things that in today's world, like, we do need it. I think in the last session, there's a presenter that was basically talking about how a lot of entrepreneurs go into starting a business and they don't really understand how the business will work or how the markets work. So research like yours are going to be very insightful and to transmit the knowledge to the entrepreneurs and also to the students who are studying entrepreneurship. If you have any questions for Dr. Spicer.
I'll just make a quick comment on that, because just triggered a thought. So one of the other loads of stuff in this research, as you might imagine, but one of the other interesting insights that kind of came out of the research, I kind of alluded to it. I talked about the kind of business model change. One of the places where we saw that actually most strongly was in early stage businesses, so kind of startup businesses and new entrepreneurs, where people were just about to launch a business or had just launched a business, and then COVID had hit. Now, that's obviously so if you've got your first product or your first site or whatever, and COVID hits, that's obviously going to be impactful for you as a business. But a lot of quite a lot, certainly a significant subset of the sample of people that we talked to that were in that position, said that actually COVID turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because it allowed them to go back and rethink their business model. So they'd run into launching a product or a service, and then they'd got some feedback on that. And then what normally happens in my experience with entrepreneurs is you're then so driven by maintaining the business, you never get time to go back and review your business model. If the world stops for 9 months, which is pretty much what happened here in the UK, you're left twiddling your thumbs. So what can you do? So those businesses went back and they looked at their business models. So I think of one example. It happens to be a graduate of ours. He launched a new beverage, a sort of a healthy alternative for the kind of the sort of the energy drinks, so all natural and everything else. He'd launched his first product. He'd got some feedback on that. And because he couldn't physically get any more product in COVID, he went back, he looked at that feedback, he reformulated the product, he changed his packaging, he changed his labeling and everything else, and actually probably moved his product on massively in the COVID period because he had the time and the space to look at that. And that's the big lesson for early stage entrepreneurs. You've got to carve out that time and space to review your business model. Don't get sucked into just making the business happen.
Very true. And you just touched upon the resilience. Probably he had a very high resilience and, came back from being hit by COVID and came up with a completely new solution, which happened to a lot of businesses all around the world. I'm pretty sure you mentioned in the UK, also here in Oman, there's organizations or firms that had strong employment where they didn't fire people, they didn't people let go. Because they revisited their strategies, they revisited their model and adapted towards their strategies, and the operations went on. If you don't mind, I'll start off with the questions before the rest of the audience comes up with questions. I have a couple of questions for you. Now, you were talking about the SMEs and all of that. It was just a quick question is, how can these SMEs improve their operations post-COVID? Especially with the increase in sales online. Now you're talking about they moved their sales online. Now, should it be a continuous thing? Should they just go with operating online? But should they do a hybrid approach?
So I mean, I think it very much varies by firm experience. I think the big thing that happened in terms of the kind of the operational shift in COVID, certainly here in the UK, is all the objections to moving businesses virtually went away overnight, because you either went virtual or you didn't have a business. Yeah. So all of the employee barriers to digital transformation had to go away. And I think even to the university, thinking back to the pre-COVID period, the notion from some colleagues that they would log into a meeting via Teams was just like, oh my God, I don't really like my computer at the best of times. But that's all that side of it's all gone away, and the efficiencies. It's then about how organisations leverage that kind of effectively. And that it's going to be sector and business and everything else dependent. But I was thinking of some of the respondents are talking to somebody who sells a virtual product. So what they do is it's actually a business simulation that I use in my teaching. And he was saying, well, COVID's brilliant, because it used to be the case that people used to expect me to turn up on campus to demonstrate the product to them. That's gone away, so I can talk to you in the morning, I can talk to somebody in the south of the UK in the afternoon, I can talk to China in the evening, and Oman an appropriate time in the day for you as well. So in terms of his efficiency of operations, people's willingness to work virtually has meant his sales model has become much easier. He's doing less kind of physical kind of mileage. Think of another example, which was the local business based here in Bradford, who offer music lessons on traditional Indian instruments. It's quite a niche business in many respects, and they had a good market in Bradford. They've seen their market grow massively over the COVID period because they moved virtually, and people found that actually having a music lesson virtually wasn't as bad as they thought it might be. That it did seem to work and worked effectively, and in terms of the reach of their reach of their business and the ability of the people giving the lessons to give lessons, that's massively increased virtually. So if I'm a music tutor and I'm physically having to go between houses to give lessons, that limits the number of lessons I can give. But if I'm doing lessons for an hour virtually, I can suddenly do 6, 7, 8 lessons in a day, whereas I've only been doing 3 or 4. And I think that from the technology piece, that's the big change operationally. That it's where businesses have actually been able to use the fact that COVID has got us over the hump of the barrier of technology to adapt business models, and that works for them and their customer. Then everybody's happy. Yeah, it's other businesses, they were, if you're a restaurant, yes, you might have been selling takeaways because that's all you could do, but you wanted to get people back into the physical presence on the back of that, and then you make a decision about whether it's worth your while maintaining the takeaway business alongside that.
Right. As you said, it was a blessing disguised to some businesses, like all that. I have another question. You were talking about the factors influencing engagement, and you mentioned work job design. Now, what do you think is the best work design strategy, like post-COVID?
So, I'm careful how I say this, but I'll say it how it comes into my head. Sod it. Yeah. So, I was getting a little bit cynical in the COVID period because I was talking to a lot of people that were talking about they couldn't be, they were amazed about the level of commitment that people were showing over the COVID period. And I was like, well, yeah, remember what you've done in this period. You've told them they've still got a job in a period where lots of people are losing jobs or being effectively, siloed over this period. So that's going to enhance their engagement. And you've told them they can work flexibly. You've told them they can work from home. You've told them that they can work hours that suit them around childcare and everything else, because we're all dealing with homeschooling and everything else. So and you're amazed that you've given people support and flexibility, and that creates higher levels of engagement. That's there's somebody prof who teaches HRM. That's kind of duh. Really at kind of that level. So but if that's the lesson that people have taken away from it, great. The challenge then is maintaining that long term, because the challenge in maintaining that is, if you're going to use flexible working, and there's a lot of value in using flexible working, you need to long term use that systematically. So you need to think about mechanisms for communication. You need to think about opportunities for engagement. You need to think about how you ensure that people do interact with each other. And you can get away without that over a short-term period, but the quality of the working relationships in the workplace do fall off if we're not maintaining those kind of things. So one of the things that, one of the things that's come out of not just our research, but actually looking at research with other universities here in the UK, when we've kind of shared between ourselves, it is a kind of a charter for flexible working for small firms that says, for small firms working flexibly, if you're going to ensure that you maintain engagement, these are the things you need to do. None of it's rocket science. It's clear communications, it's clear policies, it's implementing them equitably, and it's being fair and consistent with people.
Thank you. I guess people just need to, or firms just need to go back pre-COVID and look at how the productivity was and how the productivity was during the COVID period, and see which strategy that is more productive to their kind of business.
Yeah, I think it's, and I would nuance that. I would say it's probably the hybrid, that there is somewhere that gives you the best of both. That be flexible where you allow people and you get value from that, but you're still ensuring that you maintain engagement, commitment, and where you need people in the workplace, you've got people in the workplace.
Yes. Thank you very much for answering that. To the participants, do any of you have any questions for Dr. Spicer? If you have any questions, you can just type it in the chat box and I'll read it out loud for him.
Stunned virtual silence.
Something that you face a lot during the classrooms.
Well, that's a whole other conversation about teaching virtually over COVID, but we won't go down that road.
I think we're going to have more than like 40 minutes, as you said. It's going to be a whole day talking about that. I mean, it's going to be more of complaining than talking, but yeah. I guess there are no more questions from the participants, and I've exhausted my questions to you. I'd just like to thank you again for being a part of the conference and giving this masterclass. It's a very insightful presentation based on your research and your experience on the studies as well. So thank you very much, Dr. Spencer.
Thank you. No, delighted to join you all today and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To the participants, we'll just have a couple of minutes break and we'll come back at 2:45 and we'll start with the technical session 4 on digital media and communication. Okay, I'll see you all at 2:45 in about 25 minutes. All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the International Conference, the Economic Transformation and Sustainability International Conference. We'll go on to our fourth technical session for this conference, but it's also the second technical session for today. The technical session is under the title Digital Media and Communication, and the session chair is going to be Dr. Ravi. Dr. Ravi holds a doctorate in corporate finance from Bharatiya University in India. He has been working as a faculty member in the Department of Business and Economics in Modern College of Business and Science since 2012. His academic areas are accounting and finance. He also has 21 years of teaching experience to his credit and has published research papers in reputable journals, including ISI indexed journals, and presented papers in a number of international conferences. Now, he's going to be, Dr. Siraj is going to be a co-chair. So Dr. Siraj is currently the Assistant Professor of Finance and the Faculty of Business and Economics in Modern College of Business and Science. He's also part of the quality assurance and accreditation activities of MCBS. Now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. Sumit Narula to give a keynote address on the research integrity and ethics within the digital era. Now, Dr. Sumit Narula is a PhD holder in electronic media and conflict resolution from Punjab University, Chandigarh. He is presently working as Deputy Dean of Research, Publications and Citations at Amity University, Madhya Pradesh in Gwalior. He's also the director or head of institution in Amity School of Communication. He has got 2 masters and 2 postgraduate diplomas to his credit. He has published 2 books in mass communication and journalism and edited 7 books. One of his books, Environmental Awareness and Role of Social Media with IGI Publication USA, has recently been indexed by Clarivate Book Citations Analysis Web of Science. Dr. Sumit Narula, the floor is yours. I think you're still muted.
Yeah. So thank you for this introduction, and I'm very excited at this institution, MCBS. I am very happy that I've got this opportunity, and thank you for giving this brief introduction. So the topic for my keynote address is research integrity and ethics. So I would like to speak in this digital era because I was listening to the prior presentations also where everybody was talking about COVID and its impact. So this digital era has been impacted by COVID, and almost everybody is on social media and almost everybody is in front of the screen from the last 2 years because of the teaching. And this has gave the jitters to the research ethics because everybody's online. Now there is more of plagiarism. There is more of misconduct in research. There is more of fraudulent practices that have started because once you are in a physical campus, the teacher is in front of you and the teacher can teach you well. But once you give an assignment to a student and he has to submit that assignment in one day or 2 days or in half an hour, he will go to the internet and he'll try to fetch the data from there. And while fetching the data from here, it usually will not give the reference. He or she usually will not give you the exact information from where he is getting the data. And sometimes he will not give you the raw data also from where he is doing the calculations. So as an editor-in-chief of a Scopus Index journal, the Journal of Contact, Community and Communication here in my country, and I got people from all over the world, I usually go for the raw data checking so that I can see that from where we are getting the calculations and all. And while I was doing this process, I stumbled upon some of the fake predatory as well as the cloned journals which are there in the market and are taking money on wrong pretensions of publishing in the right journal. So I will be giving a small presentation of 7 slides, and then I will be showing some of the live examples of these fraud journals, which is going to save everybody's life in the Southeast Asian countries because we are most affected by them. And the menace of predatory journals is that they publish large number of useless papers, stating that they're good journals. But when you see them, they're out of the Scopus and Clarivate databases, and they will not write that on their websites that they are discontinued. So this is the point that I will be making it. I am now switching off the camera to save the bandwidth. I am sharing my screen and directly will go to the presentation which I have made specifically for today's work. As and when you got that I am above my time, please tell me, please remind me that my time is over. So I would be happy to give the floor to others. And I would like to also have the questions and to be answered by me. So that would be very, very interesting if you have some questions. And I can check the journal in front of you live. If you have any journal's name with you, we have the access to Web of Science, to Scopus databases, to ABDC, to AVS. If that journal is on planet Earth, we will give you the right information. So this is my introduction. I am presently I'm the Deputy Dean Research Publications and Citations of my university. We have this journal also. We have a center also, a unique center for detection of fake news and disinformation, which usually catch this fake news, because everywhere there is fake news. Wherever there is internet, there is fake news and disinformation. And we have a team of research scholars and faculties working with me in this department, catching it and debunking it and helping the government and the police, the local police, from this fake news. And I'm the honorary brand ambassador for Emerald South Asia. So let's define it. You can have your own definition also. This is my definition through my research, because I've recently got 5 copyrights also on the same area where we are working. That cloned journal web pages are a counterfeit mirror of an authentic journal that exploit the title and ISN of legitimate journals. In contrast to predatory journals, they are more likely to accept papers from the authors, because they have developed as the mirror image of reputable journals, including their domain names. And everything whichever I will be saying, I will be showing everybody with the proofs. Some of these counterfeit journals actively chase authors through a modified email message that announces fake call for papers in a current issue of the journal. Authors may be duped by these solicitations into paying an open access publication fees, trusting that their work is about to be published in a reputable journal. So the unique concept of open access has been misused by them. You think that you are paying to them and your paper is in open access journal, but it's not the right thing. Every open access journal does not ask for money. So the platinum open access journal, there are plenty of number. The platinum open access journals will never ask for the money. I will show you the live examples of some platinum open access journals. So predatory journals, it's a very, very big menace in India as well as in Southeast Asian countries. Predatory publishing is called write-only publishing or deceptive publishing. It is an exploitative publishing business model that involves charging publication fees to authors without checking articles for quality and legitimacy, and without providing the other editorial and publishing services that legitimate academic journals provide, whether open access or not. They are regarded as predatory because scholars are tricked into publishing with them, although some authors may be aware that the journal is of poor quality or even fraudulent. So the onus comes to the research scholar that why they are publishing with a fraud journal. The reason can be the university is unable to check that. The university is not aware. The authorities are not aware that this journal is of poor quality or fraudulent or predatory. So the work has to be done from the bottom to top approach. From the bottom, we have to tell to the top authorities that they need to check it there, that this journal is going predatory. And I will show you the technology that how we are doing this work and how you can also do this work. New scholars from developing countries are said to be especially at risk of being misled by predatory publishers. According to one study, 60% of articles published in predatory journals will receive no citation over the 5-year publication. If you're looking for your accreditation in your country, if you're looking for the rankings, the QS and the international ranking, everywhere citations plays a very, very important role. And if you are publishing in a predatory journal by mistake or originally, you will never get a citation. And not getting a citation is also a kind of bad impact on the university as well as on the institution, that what is the value of that research if you're not getting any citations. So the first point we will be discussing today is the impact factor, wrong impact factor. Everywhere in the world, there is a discussion on impact factor, and it should be discussed. But let me clear you, the word impact factor can only be used by Clarivate. It is a copyrighted word by them. The other word, which is site score, is by elsewhere. So the difference is that the impact factor comes once in a year, site score is monthly. So site score is a technology copyrighted and developed by elsewhere, which is Scopus. Clarivate has developed Web of Science, which is the JCR. So be very, very careful, everybody. If there is a discussion on impact factor, it means it should be from the Web of Science, which is Clarivate analysis. There is no Thomson and Reuters impact factor now. It has been bought by Clarivate. If a journal is still giving you Thomson's and Reuters impact factor, there are chances that it's a dubious journal, it's a predatory journal, because they are giving you disinformation. And in this digital era, everywhere